review here today. This video will be going up Sunday, I believe. I have completed it on Friday. So, it did take me 5 days to complete. Not a long time. I'm going to get into a bunch of things, my personal gripes, which there's only really one. There may be some spoilers in here in terms of like story stuff, but maybe not. But if there is, I will bring it up. But overall, I obviously really enjoyed it. Now I can sit here and say, it took me on standard, I played on standard modern, so it's casual, standard, modern difficulty, casual difficulty, standard, modern, and standard classic, and then when you complete the game, insanity or insane mode opens up. I played on standard modern. I probably should have played on standard classic because that's when you have to use the typewriter ribbons like the old games classic stuff as grace. But my second playthrough, I'm gonna play it on that difficulty. But it was 11 hours and 29 minutes. It was 11:22. There are two endings in this game. I saw them both. I'm like, well, I'm seeing them both. The one is like the real ending. The other is such a... You're like, what the hell? Like, I didn't necessarily hate that ending. It might make some people go, oh my god, but... There was like no fanfare or anything, like no like afterward stuff. It's just like boom, 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 and here come the credits. The other ending, which is the other one, that's when you're fighting the big boss. Standard fucking Resident Evil fare here, right? And you're getting more of the story shit. So that's the one, because I got the trophy for that one. The other one, you just get, oh, you beat the game on this difficulty. So one of them is the actual one, and it even gives you the opportunity after you beat it. Like, oh, you want to see the other one? It's like, all right, I'll see the other one. But overall, I did really like it. Now, I can argue 11 and a half hours for $70 plus. Now, this was a gift, birthday gift, obviously, so. But if I, 11 and a half hours for 70 plus hours, for 11 and a half hours of gameplay, are you getting your money's worth? I feel like I am because I love the franchise. Now, after you complete it, there's also a Leon Must Die Forever mode, which is like a lot of the modes that have been put in these games for a while. You got a time limit. You gotta get different levels to get to Victor Gideon. As you're playing as Leon, obviously, and you gotta get there. You can pick up things along the way. You get enhancement stuff that will help you. Shit like that, taking out enemies in different sections of the game that you played. I played it for a little bit. I didn't complete it. I just wanted to see what it was about. Very arcade style thing. You're getting points for killing enemies and shit. And when you kill the little spiders, you get more time, because you're on a time limit. So there is an extra mode there that I could definitely spend some more time with. And you get the little credits for doing challenges in the game, like you have been for a little bit now in Resident Evil. And you get Grace's report too after you beat it, which is the story of Resident Evil from the beginning, pretty much. From even the beginning from the 60s and stuff like that. Stuff they've all talked about in the games over the years. But you can get outfits, concept art, behind the scenes. So you can buy stuff, and then you can buy new weapons as well that will be in your playthrough. When you do a second playthrough, stuff carries over. The usual stuff. And you get some little bonuses that are in your inventory box, storage box. But anyway, on to the game. Now, it tells you in the beginning to use the way you want to do it. Grace in first person, Leon in third. That does make sense. That's how I played it. It makes sense. I might switch it up for my second playthrough. I think you can change that whenever. And you can change the difficulty, I think, as well. Whatever. I did not. Because honestly, I died. I'm not like I didn't die in the fucking game. I probably died like 10 times. 2 times I just was like, kill me. I did something stupid. I botched something. I was like, just kill me. I got to save right there. But I beat it a few times for sure. A couple things are, you kind of get one-shotted type thing. But you start as Grace. You're in your FBI office. Your boss comes up to you and tells you you got to go there's been another body found that's been killed in the ways of the other ones. But your mom was killed here, so she's a little nervous about going back, or she hasn't been there, I guess, since it happened, because the place is burned down. You go there, it's a crime scene. The cop lets you in. You're doing stuff. It's pretty creepy. Stuff happens. It has. If you've ever played the first Condemned game, I was like, I want another Condemned game now, because this was like almost like the beginning of the first Condemned. The first Condemned, you're going into like an abandoned building and shit. There's a crime scene. Stuff starts happening. Very similar. Condemned was creepier. But still cool stuff happens. It's kind of the tutorials of you learning some things. You're getting some cutscene action shit. Victor Gideon is he's a bad guy. I'm not going to say who's the main. You do have, this is a little bit of a spoiler here, Wesker Jr., we'll just call him. He does have a name. His name's Zeno. You'll know if you played it, you're going to know what he is and how he came about and stuff. Although, I don't know, maybe in some of the notes, it leads towards it, but Victor Gideon makes a comment where you're like, yeah, of course. Because I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, no, okay. Victor grabs you. This is the beginning. And it goes from there. Then you're playing as Leon, and it'll be like, 5 minutes earlier or something. It goes back and forth at first. And then Leon you're playing as. Leon's the action-oriented stuff. Grace is the survival horror type feel stuff to it, right? But you get grabbed as Grace. And then you're in the Rhodes facility, hospital, home, whatever they're calling it. I've already forgotten stuff. But that's where the game kind of starts proper. You're her now. Now it's in your huge mansion type fucking thing, right? It's also got a lab and doctor's offices and shit, right? This is where it's Resident Evil. This is probably in reality the best part of the game. This section. Because this is where you have to find things to open doors. You gotta combine this with that. There's puzzles involved. You gotta find notes, codes for safes. Classic Resident Evil shit. And it works completely fucking well. It's pretty creepy in here, especially the beginning part when you first escape kind of your situation when you get brought here. There's a giant creature. You probably would have seen her in the trailer. It's just called the Girl, apparently. And you'll find out why that is later on in the game. I'm not gonna spoil that kind of stuff. And it's creepy. You gotta hide from her and stuff, kind of just avoid her and shit, because she will one-shot you. She'll bite your head off. It happened to me. She bites my head off. She's crawling up through the ducts, and it's the lighting and stuff. The lights aren't really working. You just get a lighter, so you're like, oh shit. Very fucking creepy. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, the creepiness goes away in this game, unfortunately. It doesn't ruin anything, but I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. This is creepy, and then it kind of loses the creepiness factor after this kind of section, but especially the beginning of this section in the Rhodes Home Hospital, I forget. Because you got an overall map. You're heading back to Raccoon City. Obviously, as you can see here. Blown out, destroyed Raccoon City. Because there's a facility, standard Resident Evil affair. This facility you got to get to. You learn stuff along the way. And I said, I don't want to spoil too much here. In terms of real story beats. So you're playing as her, and then you kind of swap into Leon once or twice, but then it's a massive section of just playing as Grace for a while. Like I said, you gotta be stealthy. You can craft stuff. You get the blood, whatever the fuck it's called. I forget that. The blood kind of thing where eventually you can put the vials in this machine, and then you could now create more stuff. But you get blood from enemies. Because at a point, there's a bucket of blood. I'm like, why is this here? Once you get this device, you put it in, you're sucking up blood. And you combine the blood with other things to create items. You can get stealthy and create these injector things. But you can do health injectors. You can also combine herbs. You get med kit injectors or whatever. But there's also these stealth injector things where you stealth behind the guy, kill him. They don't come back because once again, the enemies will mutate over time if you don't completely finish them off, which you're not going to be able to completely take them all out. You're getting lockpicks like the other games to unlock simple locks. There is one room I did not get into that required a key. Now, I don't know if you get to this in a second playthrough or I just missed this key. You're getting your files throughout the way as well that are explaining parts of the story also. Backstory and shit. I missed 5 files throughout all the game, which I'm actually shocked by. I thought I was going to miss more. But so you're doing all this stuff as her. You come across a little child, and you're like, oh my god, it looks like her. Stuff's going on. Like I said, I don't want to ruin serious plot points. So you are escorting this little girl to point because she's got to help you to point. So you're carrying her around to point. You can put her down, sit her down. This is a little later in the Grace section. There's a part where you're covering them as Leon briefly. Then you play Leon some more. And at first it's in kind of small doses. You're playing as Leon. So you do this part, you do all this shit. And then you meet up with Leon again, and he's like, you gotta get out of here. Leon gives you his hand cannon, Requiem. Gives it to you at first. You have like a few bullets. Then you could craft some bullets as well. I didn't use it as Grace often, and then eventually Leon gets it back. But you can craft bullets. You can craft these injectors. You can craft Molotov cocktails, med injectors, scrap, because you gotta get scrap. But you also get knives as well, where you can obviously melee him. What Leon has his axe too, his hatchet. But Grace gets little knives, and they will break. But you can also use them as kind of a save thing, like in other games, where if you get grabbed, you can use it. And you will get it back if you kill the enemy. But you can also break down those little knives into scrap, and you use scrap with the blood, and you're creating stuff. So that's a new mechanic here where you gotta use the blood as her, and you're like killing enemies, sucking up blood later on in the game. And when you're in this facility place in the beginning, the Rhodes place, there's no end to the blood. And you get the little antique coins that there's like, I think 4 things you can unlock. One was steroids. And you could also create steroids that give you more max health. And you could create a thing that helps with like your weapon power or stability or whatever. I did it mostly for the health with when I was able to. One you were able to get with the lock things with the antique coins. You're able to get a hip pouch. Because as Grace, you have a small inventory that you have to upgrade with the hip pouches. Leon has his classic case like he had in 4. That you can't upgrade. I'll get into Leon in a few minutes. This is going to be a long video. Because you're playing more as Grace at first. And then there was also a couple injectors, steroids, the weapon one. And there was a 4th one that upgraded how much blood I can hold. Because you're also getting blood bags at points, because like this place is a hospital, but it's also like a mansion area. It's a big facility, right? And then you combine those and you got more blood in your thing. Decent amount of enemies. You're going to find a lot of classic enemies in here, especially when you end up later in the game. But they're zombies. They're kind of, when they mutate, it's a little different. It's not over the top crazy, except one, which I'm not going to talk about. There's the girl, it's a giant thing. There's another one called Chunk, is apparently his name. He's another huge one that's like got to force himself through the hallways and shit. He will also kill you immediately if he grabs you. Or maybe not immediately, but he can kind of one-shot you. Apparently, you get it. One of the challenges is if you kill him as Grace. I did not. I didn't want to waste my ammo. You do a lot of stealth as Grace, but then you do come across more bullets for your handgun. You only have 2 handguns and then the Requiem that Leon gives you for that point. Like I said, he gets it back. Right, she didn't come across a shotgun or anything, I don't think. But she's saving the traditional way of the typewriter, right? Creepy part, eventually you get out of there. And Grace leaves with certain people, like things happen. I'm gonna talk about that. But then you're now heading towards Raccoon City. As Leon, you would have seen this in the trailer. The first section of Raccoon City is kind of before you get to the area where you're gonna get all the fucking nostalgia, right? When you go into the precinct and some of the other places that are now completely blown out and destroyed. You're gonna come across. He has little memories too and stuff, which is cool. It's like you know what they do? When he goes there, they do a cutscene from the Resident Evil 2 remake where Leon's remembering when he was his first day on the job, right, for Resident Evil 2. I was like, it would have been awesome if they used cutscenes or whatever from the original on the PlayStation. It was all pixelated and shit. Would have been awesome. But they used the stuff from Resident Evil 2, the remake. And you still get that little Jack in that section. And he's remembering people and stuff like that. So that's cool. He remembers Kenzo. I can't remember his fucking name. It's the guy who runs the gun shop. I knew his name is. Oh my god. It's something with a K though. What shop's called? His shop's called stuff. And he remembers that. And Leon's feeling bad. Leon is also infected with the T virus, and so is Sherry Birkin, who's in his ear. And so are some other people. There's another character. This is spoilers right here. I'm going to say this real quick. If you don't want to listen to like 10 seconds. You fight somebody called the Commander as Leon. I'm not going to say it. But the voice actor, the weapons he uses, and the way he behaves, he is most likely, and I think it's been kind of confirmed, but maybe not, is another character that people kind of bone over. He's kind of a side person in the game, but this is apparently him. Apparently he's infected with this too. There's Steve Harris too, but you do fight him at a point. You'll know who I'm talking about if you know Resident Evil. But that's later on, because this first section is Leon when you go to destroyed Raccoon City. It's a cool section. Technically, it all works fine. The gameplay's fine. It's a whole ton of action horror here. Cat is eating some dry food. A whole ton of action horror here. Let me put this right. And in my opinion, this section, and the funny thing is, it was only 11.5-hour game. This section dragged on a little long for me personally. That's a personal gripe. And some people might love it. Now, it's technically fine. It looks great. The gameplay's fun. You gotta collect stuff to blow up a gate. You know, you're using these little missile things that are hanging around, because the BS, is it the BSAA? Is that what they called? The ones that Chris was part of 5 at first gets introduced, I think. They're there, they've been taken out, but their weapons are there. Because everybody's trying to go to this thing in Raccoon City, trying to find somebody. But they got taken out, and then there's, and some of these agents have, guns where they will shoot you. And there's other parts later on in the game where there's actual guys that are shooting on you. And you're gonna get fucking wiped out if you get shot quickly. But some of them also using these little missile things, guided kind of missile things and stuff. But you're doing stuff there, it's cool, you gotta get fuel for stuff. It's still Resident Evil type. But it's very action oriented, and it is not creepy at all in my opinion. There's a giant spider at a point as well. There's a cool sequence though after you get out of this first big section with Leon, where you plays Leon for a while. Because you play with Leon for a while. After this, you play as Leon more, I would say, than Grace. It might be like a 60-40 maybe. There's a cool sequence at the end there that's really cool. I'm not going to spoil it. It's a fun sequence. Before you get to the kind of classic section of Raccoon City where you're going into the precinct again, the memories. Very nostalgic, very cool. Well done. And that goes back to normal stuff. You're going to encounter classic enemies and stuff as well throughout this game. A few like, oh, look who it is, you know. And Leon, of course, has his quips. The voice acting is really good. The combat with Leon is fine. And on the difficulty I play with standard modern, there's no shortage of me getting ammo. And you also you're getting points for killing enemies at this point too, when you get to this point. And then you could buy stuff. His save is you just go into a thing, you save. There's no storage for Leon. You can sell weapons, because you know you can buy upgrades for your weapons with Leon, like in other stuff, other games. And you could, you're getting points, and you're finding wristlets that have points, existing points on them. So you got points, you get body armor, you can repair body armor, you can buy some items in there each time you find one. You can buy new weapons, you're upgrading weapons, the usual stuff. But he doesn't have a storage locker. But he has a huge inventory, which I will say at the end of the game, in the end fight, they introduce a weapon where all of a sudden I'm like, I didn't know I was going to get this, and now I have to get rid of stuff in my inventory to fucking fit this thing. But you're as Leon there, you're working your way through Raccoon City. You do play another part as Grace when she's younger. As well, that's a shorter one. That part's kind of creepy too, for sure. The creepiness really does go away after that kind of Rhodes Institute. Let's play with the toys. I'm gonna tell you right now, it starts off, for me at least, pretty damn creepy, and then it loses the creepiness factor. And as Leon, it's really not creepy at all, but outside of that one section where I thought there was way too much combat and it dragged on a little bit, it comes back down to the normal stuff, and you're like, okay, here we go, cool. Back to the standard kind of affair. And like I said, the combat's fun, it works. You got your melee stuff you can parry. He's got his little stone to sharpen his fucking, to pretty much reload his hatchet, to sharpen his hatchet. You get little charms you can put on the weapons as well. That will give you stuff, but also hurt other parts of the weapon, but it will help with other things. You're getting sniper rifles, automatic kind of machine guns or whatever, pistols, shotguns. Another classic comes into play, but that's at the end. Decent amount of weapons, good enemy variety overall. Like I said, especially towards the end when you're in this other facility, because you always end up in a facility in Resident Evil, right? Some kind of facility. You're gonna come across a lot of, not a lot, but one very classic enemy, as well as the precinct section you come across, and that's a boss fight, another classic boss. Pretty decent amount of enemies, I guess. Maybe not, but my only real gripe with the game is that one Leon section, while technically completely fine, drags on and it's way too action horror. I was getting a little annoyed. I'm like, really? More enemies? But you can, it's kind of cool. Some of them are carrying axes and shit on them. Other types of melee weapons that you can take and throw into other ones, and then you can melee them. There's big things you can blow up. They can throw and shoot or blow people up. You come across some other weapons in this other, not weapons, but other things as a facility that take care of a certain enemy very quickly. And now Leon also can combine stuff, but he gets the like gunpowder and the I guess is it scrap too? The gunpowder, you can combine them. It's not with blood with Leon. There are puzzles in this game. There's not many. There are very little puzzles where you gotta get items from and stuff. But you have to get stuff to get into doors, and I gotta get these to get out to the main area and shit like that. The one ending of the game, though, you're gonna be like, oh my fucking god, what? No! Well, that is not the official ending, obviously. Graphically, it looks great. The character models all look great. The voice acting's really good, like I said in the other videos. Grace's voice actress is fantastic. The way she's kind of nervous and she's kind of like, oh, well, you know, like you can see she's scared throughout this whole thing. She's not used to this. Leon is more used to it, but Leon does get serious. But he's throwing his quips out there. One of his things he says in the Leon Must Die Forever thing was funny. I can't remember what it was, though. I was laughing. Oh, he's like, what are you even going to cut with that knife? An elephant? Or something like that. That's a cool little mode after, so there's some replayability there. I mean, these games have replayability anyway because you kind of want to play through them again. You can play through it quicker, and you know stuff and shit like that. But so the voice acting's all good. Graphically, it looks nice. The gameplay is solid. There's a good amount of different sections. You got blown out Raccoon City. You got facilities. You got that Rhodes kind of hospital facility, whatever it was. The beginning, you're in the destroyed hotel. And you're also walking through the city streets very briefly as well. As Leon as well, you do that briefly. And it's paced pretty well. Like I said, outside of that one point where I think it went on too long, and it was a little too actiony, the pacing for the game is good. You know, I could have probably said, the problem with like a Resident Evil game, you don't really want it to go past maybe the 18-hour mark, because you're gonna get bored. It's gonna lose. It's gonna wear its welcome. But I think 11 and change is a little too short, in my opinion, for the price you're paying. There is some replayability there. But overall, it was fantastic. I liked it better than Village. I do not believe I liked it better than... Now, if I was... This one I'm going to give a 9. I was going between an 8.5 in my head and a 9. It's worthy of the 9. It's a fantastic game. Outside of a little personal gripes for me, it's a fantastic game. It looks great. The gameplay is fun. It's creepy in the beginning. I would have loved for it to have been more creepy throughout. That's why Resident Evil is my favorite of these recent 3. 7. And I'm not going to count the remakes. Although the remake for 2 is pretty creepy too. 3, the remake for 3 is not so much as creepy. But I'm going to say like this kind of newer Resident Evil style, I guess. Although this has third person as well, but 7's still my favorite because 7 is legitimately, for me, super creepy and creepy for most of the game. And I would be giving 7 and 9 5, this a 9, and I would give Village an 8. I've talked about Village before. But it still is fantastic. Leon's a classic fucking character. Grace is a new character that's really cool. Sherry Bergen's the voice in your ear. She comes in through the controller. And the bad guys are cool. Victor's a pretty cool character. The Zeno, he was alright, but Wesker Jr., you're gonna know when you play it. You're gonna find, oh yes. The enemies look nice and stuff. I'm probably forgetting some things, but like I said, it has that creepy. You know what? It's kind of almost like Village, with the part in like the doll makers area, which is creepy as fuck. It's the only really creepy part of that game. This beginning is like creepy with that giant thing. You gotta hide and shit. You're like, oh my god, the lighting and everything. There's a sense of dread. For a bit, there's other parts too. Yeah, you know what? It gets creepy as well with Was that Grace? Yeah, it was Grace's section, right? Yes. Where you're in, like, you fall into the basement of this facility. And that's actually a creepy section, too, because the girl, they call the girl the giant, mutated girl, is also still there stalking you and shit. And like I said, there's a section where you're carrying the little girl around with you, Emily. And you gotta kind of put her down and be like, okay, I gotta deal with this first. But overall, like I said, I loved it. You know what? It's a throwback for me because I used to, some games I would complete in like 4 or 5 days when I was super into playing them. What I'd like to have been a little longer, sure. It's still a hell of a ride. I would definitely go a 9 on this one. I'm probably missing some stuff. I always am. I try to do it while it's fresh in my mind, everything, but I still forget some stuff. And you get a backstory with Spencer and shit too, and some cutscenes there. We're in the past, so you're gonna get some stuff in there. But because I don't want to like spoil why they're trying to get this facility and what they're trying to do and stuff like that. I want to kind of keep some of that because I know I can get bad with the spoilers sometimes. But overall, like I said, I give it a 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic game. The combat is fun. I probably, I like the Leon sections, but I love that Grace section in the beginning, where this is like, this is Resident Evil, but it's modern now, There's also little things you can break to find items in. Enemies will drop items as well as Leon. They drop the blood as, I don't think they drop, do they drop items as Grace? I think they drop them. As Leon, they'll drop items and shit. But you can break stuff to get items. There's the little raccoon things, Mr. Raccoon, that you can destroy through. I think I got 17 to 25. And it does do a good job, but there's also parts, because Leon has this is a little bit of a spoiler. Leon has a T-virus in him, so there's parts later in the game where he's like starts to like spaz out, but you can still shoot. Like screen goes kind of purple and stuff. And there's cranks you gotta get for things and keys and stuff. The wheel, the wheel turn shit. A wrench. The section with Grace was awesome. Like that was for me probably the best part of the game. The end facility was cool too. And the Raccoon City part was cool when you go to the old kind of, you get in the memories and you're going to some of the old sections you would have seen, right? The only section it's not that I hated it. It was still fun. The gameplay was fine and it was technically fine. It just went on for a little long, that first section of Raccoon City. But there is the cool sequence when you get out of there. That's cool. It was fun. But overall, like I said, 9 out of 10. The voice acting solid. Story is Resident Evil, right? Like, it's gonna get a little weird as it always does. They're all over the fucking place. This one isn't as maybe as nuts as some of the other shit, some of the other ones, but 9 out of 10 for Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil Requiem. Well worth checking out if you're into the Resident Evils. Another great installment. Let's see what they do next. But yeah, thanks for checking this out.